everybody, welcome back to our continuing coverage of the Overland campaign, 160th anniversary. I'm Chris White, joined by Mike Gorman from Richmond National Battlefield Park here. We have Dan Davis, we have Sarah Byerly behind the camera, and we really want to thank you for watching all these videos. And this is our last video of this series, so I just wanted to step on and say thank you to everyone for watching, for clicking that like button, that subscribe button, and we encourage you to check out the other videos that will help to support these. We have an Overland animated map that'll bring you from the wilderness all the way down towards Petersburg. We also have some step-in videos at places like Massaponax Church where you can step right into the photograph that was taken there in May of 1864 with Grant and Meade having a council of war at Massaponax Church. And of course, we have all kinds of other videos. But before I step off, I do want to encourage you to carry on this series by checking out our series on Petersburg. We were down there with Will Green, Doug Ullman, Gary Edelman just a few years ago, and that'll pick up the end of the story of this Overland campaign and that next phase, which will turn into the Petersburg campaign, 292 days long, and we'll cover a lot of that in that series for you. But on behalf of the Trust, I'm Chris White. I'm going to step off, turn this over to the experts down here at Cold Harbor, my colleague Dan, Mike Gorman. Take it away.
Thank you, Chris. And I think it's appropriate that we're ending this series on land that you, members of the American Battlefield Trust, have preserved. Come down here, see this land, and this is 28 acres that we've helped preserve that not only touches Gaines's Mill, but also Cold Harbor. This is some land that's going to see some of the worst of the fighting on the morning of June 3rd. The 8th New York Heavy Artillery, again, if you follow along in our videos, Grant has pulled those garrison troops out of the Washington defenses, cannibalized them into infantrymen. They've joined the Army of the Potomac at Spotsylvania Courthouse. 8th New York Heavy Artillery commanded by a fellow named Peter Porter. He's a Harvard graduate, a relative of Confederate General and former U.S. Vice President John Breckinridge will be commanding that regiment. And he leads that regiment here into action on the morning of June 3rd. And we've been talking a little bit about Peter Porter. Mike, you've done some fantastic research. Why don't you tell us about this field in relation to Porter and the Union attack?
Absolutely. One of the really fun things about being a ranger is, especially now with so many things being digitized, that you can look at maps that maybe we didn't have access to before, and sources that were really hard to find before, and put them all together. And with the ground now preserved, you get to tell a story that the most important actor here can tell, the ground itself. Right? So when we're here on this ground, you can almost imagine there in the distance, one of the battalions of the 8th New York Heavy Artillery moving forward. Now the Confederate line at the time was actually sort of diagonally across this field, kind of angling back this way. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, there's a giant hole here that was man-made probably in the early 20th century, but then there was a Confederate line up here that snaked down this sloping ground. So you can imagine these battalions sort of, one coming across this field and the other sort of channeling into this low ground. And there's this map that is now in the National Archives from one of the men in the 8th New York Heavy Artillery who literally X marks the spot of where Porter's body was. That, in fact, one of the soldiers in the regiment named Leroy Williams crept out like on his belly like a snake with a rope and attached it to Porter's body and rolled over the body himself so he would look like Porter's body, so the Confederates wouldn't notice that there was a body being dragged back behind him. And as best as I can tell, looking at that map with the Confederate line overlaid from the Mickler map, which went like this, it looked like Porter and his body was right down there, just on this land that's been recently preserved by the Trust, which is terribly exciting. And for my upcoming tour on the anniversary weekend, I'm going to be talking about that, which is going to be a lot of fun. As far as I know, this is the first time we've ever really been able to do that on preserved land. So it's very exciting to me, but just also imagining one of these battalions coming right across this field and right just past where these houses are, these trees right here, really starting to encounter that heavy fire from the Confederates. Remember, their line is here, so as they appeared on the crest of this ridge, it would have just been a beautiful target for those Confederates. And that's the area, when we talk about those 500 casualties right in front, right over there, that's where all this is going to be taking place, on this hill slope as well. So it's very exciting, and it's really exciting to me personally to be able to tell these stories, not just in a visitor center or gesturing over across the road like I have for 20 plus years, to actually be here on the ground. It's giving me tingles right now. but it's really exhilarating that we'll be able to do that, and it's all thanks to you guys.
Yeah, and they, again, the 8th New York Heavy Artillery, they suffer unspeakable casualties. They come into the fight 1,600 strong. They lose about 500. It's most of any other Union regiment at Cold Harbor, and I think appropriately, they have a monument here at Cold Harbor in the National Cemetery, just down the road, just out of sight from where we are standing. And I also think it is a testament to Porter's character that one of his soldiers would come out into the no man's land and go put himself in that personal level of danger and bring his body back. And I believe Porter rested in Niagara, New York at St. Peter's Episcopal Church Cemetery. But it really shows how much respect and admiration his men had for him, even in death.
Absolutely, and most remarkably to me too, that the man who did it, Leroy Williams, received the Medal of Honor for that action. Now, I guarantee you that night he was not thinking, I'm going to do something really, really awesome and get the Medal of Honor. He was doing it just out of personal reasons and feeling real emotion that his colonel's body was out in no man's land and it needs to come back. Yeah. And that is very powerful.
The armies will remain here at Cold Harbor for the next few weeks. On June 5th, Ulysses S. Grant is going to send a message back to Washington, D.C. And in this message, he's going to start making plans. He's already looking ahead. Grant is that chess player. He's always thinking 2-3 steps ahead of what he's going to do. Over the course of the last month, he's bled his army dry. He's bled Robert E. Lee's army dry. And now he's going to start casting his eye off to the south, beyond the James River, to Petersburg. Petersburg is Lee's logistical hub. He's unable to destroy Lee in the field. He wants to go after Lee's logistics. Maybe that will finally bring the Army of Northern Virginia to its knees. And Mike, do you have anything to add to Grant closing out the campaign here?
I love what you said, and I'll throw in the other wrinkle that he's also playing with a ticking clock in the form of his veteran army, which all signed 3-year enlistment papers in the summer of 1861. They're about to go home. And that army will literally evaporate and be replaced with rookie troops. And he knows that clock is ticking. So as he starts to look to Petersburg, he's looking at that one last chance he has with that classic, great, cohesive Army of the Potomac that he can still use for just a little while longer. Can he get it done? Well, he doesn't know yet, but he's going to try one last time at Petersburg.
Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for supporting Battlefield Preservation and Education. Be sure to like, subscribe, share this video. As Chris mentioned, look ahead to our Petersburg videos that we have already out on YouTube. For Sarah Byerly behind the camera, Chris White, Mike Gorman, I'm Dan Davis. Again, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for supporting Battlefield Preservation and Education.
Hello, this is Trace Atkins. To stay up to date on all the latest and coolest videos, please subscribe to the Trust YouTube channel. Preserve, educate, inspire.